I thought I was going to fight Ilya in January.
I know there was a little bit of criticism about Paddy Pimblett getting this fight.
I mean, I felt just as much hate for me as I did for him. If you're an Armin fan, you obviously, feel slighted, and I understand that. But this is such a crazy game, and timing is everything. I beat Dustin Poirier, and then he ended up fighting for a belt. If you sign up for this game, you have to understand that there's so many variables that you do not control, and ultimately you just have to be ready for each one of these nights when they show.
Justin Gaethje caught everyone off guard when he hinted that he might actually make Paddy Pimblett tap out at UFC 324. The way he said it wasn't loud or showy, it was measured, like a veteran who's seen enough fights to know when he's got the upper hand. Fans didn't know if he was serious or just stirring the pot, but his tone left little doubt that he meant every word.
This is such a crazy game, you just never know. Maybe I'll sub him.
I mean, anything's possible.
It's gotta be 1,000,000 to 1 odds.
Gaethje's confidence has roots. He's built his name as the guy who walks straight into danger, willing to take one just to land one harder. But those losses to Khabib Nurmagomedov and Charles Oliveira forced him to change the way he fights. The Oliveira bout still stings, not because he was out grappled from the start, but because a clean shot wobbled him first, leading to the choke. Against Khabib, it wasn't just a loss. It was a masterclass in control. Gaethje called it one of the most puzzling nights of his life. Since then, he's been working quietly but relentlessly on his grappling, his wrestling, and his ability to stay calm when things hit the mat. Now, heading into UFC 324, he's not nervous about being taken down. In his mind, unless someone rocks him badly, nobody's putting him on his back without paying a price.
I mean, ultimately, he's a really good grappler, but, since the Charles Oliveira fight, I've really trained a lot of jiu-jitsu, a lot of grappling, and I've actually been enjoying it a lot more than I ever have. And so, I'm not looking to grapple, but I have no issue, with the grappling department, and my ability to keep people from taking me down is second to none. So he's gonna have to, compromise me with his punches and kicks and knees, and then, if that happens, then he'll have a better chance.
Paddy Pimblett is stepping into this fight the same way he does everything else. Loud, confident, and all in. He's undefeated in the UFC, but that record hasn't convinced everyone. Critics say he's beaten opponents past their prime or sliding down the rankings, and that his title shot came too soon. But Pimblett doesn't see it that way. He thinks this is exactly the kind of fight he was meant for. No. Instead of leaning on his grappling or playing cautious with someone as explosive as Gaethje, he wants to meet him in the middle and trade. Pimblett says the fight won't reach the 4th round. He sees himself knocking Gaethje out in under 3. His plan is pressure, pure and simple. Walk Gaethje down, land early, and prove he belongs among the elite.
I think everyone's going to be shocked, to be honest, because I think I'm going to knock him out. So people won't expect that. People think I'm just going to try and grapple and take him down when I'm not. I'm going to come out and I'm going to put it on.
Expecting an early knockout, a late knockout, somewhere in the middle.
I don't see him getting past the 3rd, just like Chandler.
Tony Ferguson, who's faced both men inside the cage, added another layer to the story. He doesn't see Pimblett as the better all-around fighter, but he thinks Gaethje's got something heavier hanging over him. His history. After losing 2 title fights, coming into another one can feel like reopening old scars. Pimblett doesn't carry that kind of emotional baggage. He's fresh, untested at this level, but that can be an advantage. Ferguson thinks one man will walk in with the weight of his past, and the other with the rush of new opportunity, and sometimes that difference alone decides the fight.
Paddy's not bad, dude. Paddy's not bad. He's very beatable, and Gaethje's very beatable as well. But when it goes into the passion and how upsetting Justin Gaethje has always been about not getting that real title shot, and they just keep dangling it right there again, Paddy's in for a new treat, right? Paddy's the one that's never fought for a belt. He's going in there. He's going to be trying to, get that stuff. He's going to feel a little bit more fresher. He's going to have that little bit of excitedness in my opinion.
Dean Thomas took a tactical approach to his prediction. He said this might be Pimblett's only real window to grab UFC gold. The lightweight division, he pointed out, is loaded with monsters like Arman Tsarukyan and Ilia Topuria, and Pimblett might not match up well with them. Gaethje, though still a powerhouse, isn't the same explosive finisher he once was. He's more predictable, a bit slower, and deeper into his career. That gives Pimblett a chance, but Thomas doesn't think it's an easy one. He doubts Paddy can control Gaethje on the mat for long or withstand his pace for 5 full rounds. In his eyes, this fight tilts toward Gaethje. The question is how long Pimblett can hold out before the storm hits.
Paddy Pimblett, Justin Gaethje fighting for the interim title. Whoever wins that fight will move on to fight Ilya. And I don't think that there will be a title defense for the interim title. If I was to guess, if I was to bet, there will be no title defense of the interim title. I think that the next fight for whoever wins between Paddy and Justin, I think their next fight will be Ilya Topuria. So do not think they will defend the interim title. So good movement and clarity at 155 pounds. I feel for Arman Tsarukyan, but this fight's going to be
Eddie Alvarez, the first man to hand Gaethje a UFC loss, offered his own perspective. For him, this fight isn't about who's more skilled, it's about who's better prepared. Alvarez said Pimblett can't just train the same way he always does and expect to survive Gaethje's chaos. That pressure, that forward march, it's not something most fighters can even simulate. Alvarez said the moment Pimblett feels that pace for real, he'll realize what he's up against. If Paddy hasn't pushed himself beyond his comfort zone in training, the fight might be over before he can adjust. Alvarez respects Pimblett's heart, but warns that heart alone won't save him from Gaethje's kind of pressure.
8 years ago, what's like the first thing that comes to mind when you think of that fight with Justin?
That I'm glad it's over and I never want to do it again. I'm like, the fans don't ever ask for a rematch or anything like that, because that would have never. I'm like, I'm glad. He's unique, man, and he's one of my favorite guys to watch. So like, but if you want to beat Justin Gaethje, you have to. So he's a forward fighter and a pressure fighter that he will stand in the pocket. And he's gonna throw everything he got in that pocket. If you don't meet him, you'll get chewed up. So Paddy, the way to beat a guy who like does this, very violent, aggressive pressure fighter, you have to meet him. You have to throw when he throws. So you got to be brave, and you got to go. You have to go when he goes in between his shots. If you do that, you got a fair shot. If you don't do that, if you're not brave and courageous and throw when he throws in between his shots, it's going to be a really long night. It's going to be a hard night for him.
Matt Brown spoke less about the fighters and more about the system. To him, UFC 324 feels like a marketing move, rewarding popularity over performance. He's seen it before. Fighters who grind through tough opponents get passed up, so someone with a bigger following can headline. Brown mentioned Arman Tsarukyan as the guy who's earned his spot through hard fights, only to be pushed aside for Pimblett's star power. He even joked that title fights might soon be decided by social media engagement instead of rankings. But behind the sarcasm, there's frustration, a sense that the sport is drifting further away from merit and deeper into promotion.
Like, they're just basically saying Paddy's more popular, you're getting it over Arman.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, right? And that's, I mean, God, I hate like how I kind of get into this too much, but I mean, that's really like, that's the definition of, you know, a monopoly where a single promoter owns the title and the rankings, and it's not a good thing for the sport, in my opinion. And I have to question what it's going to do for the longevity of the sport. You know, I don't think in the short term it's really going to make a big difference, right? Like, you know, it's going to sell the next fight, right? It's going to sell the next pay-per-view, but trends tend to come and go, right? Fads tend to come and go. At some point, like, you know, to have staying power and lasting power, I think it requires, you know, a meritocracy-based system. It's going to require, you know, some, you know, if you want to bring in guys like Arman Tsarukyan or Movsar Evloev, I always mess up how I say his name. You know, you want to bring in these Olympic wrestling level guys. I mean, they don't want to have to go out there and put on some ridiculous show to become a champion. They don't want to have to go on Instagram and start a podcast and make you know, whatever kind of skits on social media and this silly kind of stuff. Like, they just want to be a world champion because they want to be the best athlete. And that's what makes me wonder how the staying power is going to be, right? When you're dealing with guys that are you know, legitimate athletes that want to be legitimate athletes, and they're getting passed up by guys that are entertainers.
Islam Makhachev shared a similar view. He's baffled at how the UFC left Tsarukyan waiting after all he's done. Makhachev pointed out that Arman has fought injured, made weight as a backup, and dominated top opponents like Dan Hooker to prove he deserves his shot. Yet, somehow, the interim title fight went to 2 guys ranked below him. I don't get it, Makhachev said. Arman did everything right, but now he has to wait another year. Dana White, however, made it clear that rankings don't dictate opportunities. He said Tsarukyan missed his moment and will need to earn another. To White, it's not about what fans or fighters think, it's about what makes sense for the organization. And right now, that means Pimblett versus Gaethje.
I wouldn't say that he's the odd man out, you know. He had an opportunity, and you guys know how that played out, and he's gonna have to work his way back. I don't give a shit what the number says. He's going to have to work his way back. There's just too much goes into this for those type of things to happen. You know, we had a little. We were talking back in my room tonight, and we were talking about you know, all the crazy shit that's happened over the last 20-something years. But you can't do that. You can't get the opportunity, and then it can't end that way. So. He's got to work his way back.
So the message is take the next fight you offer him, obviously?
No, I mean, you know, he obviously, he knows what's going on. I don't give a shit what everybody else says. You know, he knows what's going on, and he's got to work his way back to that title shot.
As all the debates continue, Paddy Pimblett stays locked in. He truly believes he can finish Gaethje before the championship rounds. And with everything surrounding this fight, the emotional backstory, the stylistic clash, the controversy over who deserves what, it's become one of the most intriguing matchups of the year. 2 completely different fighters, 2 opposite paths, and 1 stage where everything will finally get settled. UFC 324 isn't just another fight, it's a statement waiting to be made.